Target locked.
Hello, wanted to do a video of Immortal Codex, the first iteration that we have so far, with the other ones opening in the coming days as the event continues. The first one we have is the Conqueror. It goes in and you have wave after wave of enemies, and they keep getting harder and harder as they go, and you can't do damage directly to the Conqueror, but by taking down his spawns that he sends after you, it does damage to him, and that's how you rack up points for this. Now, the main thing to know about this map is there are no platforms, so no mages, no healers, no marksmen. You're looking only at defenders and fighters. And specifically, you want to use AoE fighters and AoE defenders, mainly with the fighters. Um, but just going over this, he keeps summoning things. He gets a boost every 20 seconds that it's on the battlefield. So you want to kill them as quickly as possible so they don't stay on the battlefield more than 20 seconds, because they'll start getting a buff similar to like the Nightmare buff where they get bigger and stronger. Um, and like this is where it says he's immune to damage, but you do damage to him by killing his subordinates. So point rewards are here. So far I've managed an S plus, and just by each increment that you get higher, you can try over and over again, make changes, and try to push as hard as you can. I'm just short of getting the double S. I think I was only, it says 34,000 away from it. But you can try repeatedly and push as hard as you can while this is open for the next coming days. Um, until the next one opens up. Uh, and you can do this daily, and you get the daily reward for that. And then it can show you, looking at the ranking, you get a good idea of what's working. Gon is doing very well, mainly because he can boost Ardia, he can base Aatrox, he can boost, or not Aatrox, Cerberus, but also Aatrox. Um, those are like key units. Valkyria is also very good. Um, Constance being a ground unit healer that can also do invigoration, similar to Dolores. If you manage to pull her, is amazing. And then a lot of AoE CC with Captain Reeve is also very good, and he scales over time and gets stronger and stronger as the battles go on. Um, Other units such as Abomination also does very well. The best runs that I've gotten so far, even though I have gone, although I'm going to tweak my Aatrox and Cerberus and try to push further with Gon in the coming days. But so far, I do have Torador, and in the last couple pulls, I managed to get Arrogance. And surprisingly, Gluttony is doing very well. He's doing pretty much on par with the same damage as my Abomination, and as they ramp up and get their ults, and he's able to sustain himself with his ultimate of killing a unit with his execution. It heals him a huge chunk of his health, and then Valkyria and Arrogance are behind the wall, being able to do freely with their damage at range, while I keep the other people up front and holding the people off the fence. So we'll go ahead and go in there. I have already switched around Gluttony's gear, so it probably won't do the same wellness of run that I did with my high score, because I was just testing him, but we'll just go ahead with him again. And the best layout that I've seen so far is to protect Cerberus, even though, and we'll get into gear sets here in a little bit, protecting him so that he doesn't take as much damage, and he's able to heal with the artifact that I gave him, the Lunacy Visor, and I'll show you that in just a second. But when you go in, you first have to break down the boss, his HP bar, and this is kind of like a wind up stage, and it all uses the same timer. So the quicker you get through this, the quicker then you will have more time to focus on the actual phase once it gets into the actual phase. And so once you take him down to his first health, it then becomes the actual mode of the Immortal Codex, the boss rush. And it's really you should save your ults until you get in a little bit, once the waves become a little bit harder um, to get in there. Cerberus just went down, but he's going to put the massive AoE pool and just clear everything that's left on the field. You get a nice counter here of how many units are being spawned onto the map. And as you do damage, it racks up damage and increases your score over here. Um, I'm going to go ahead and save up my ults until the next time I can play Cerberus. Um, but and then also, if Gluttony happens to go down, since he's kind of the weaker link here, having Valkyria behind him instantly brings him back to life, so he gets another chance to survive. So you've already racked up to A. Cerberus is about to come back, but they're starting to get onto the wall here. So I'm going to drop Cerberus in and ult on my Valkyrie and Toreador. And I have been working on the Lunacy Visor for Cerberus, but he just barely doesn't live long enough yet to be able to ultimate and to get that massive boost of damage into his AoE pool. But we still managed to get to S+, but we're probably, Abomination went down, Gluttony went down, was revived by Valkyria. We almost beat our high score. I think we were just under my high score currently, which is interesting because I tweaked Gluttony quite a bit since my high score there. So it might be able to do better with the attempt that I want to do with Aatrox and Cerberus. But let's go ahead and take a look of all the units that would be good for this. And like I said, with the Cerberus and Aatrox, it's kind of incredibly vital to have a good Lunacy Visor. It used to be called something else before they changed all the names. But it was a newer one, and I didn't bother to learn what it was called beforehand. I don't even remember. But it increases their block, but more importantly, it allows him to heal for every damage that he does for up to 3 targets, which is going to be pretty much constantly. But if you keep him behind Toreador and safe, I've seen a lot of other gameplays where they have they'll put Gon in the middle and Aatrox and Cerberus on either side, and then they're taking the whole brunt. And you could do the same thing that I did with Gluttony in that aspect, because Cerberus cannot be revived, but Aatrox can be revived by Valkyria. So if you put Aatrox in front of Valkyria, he'll die and then immediately come back and go again. And I'll go ahead and show that real quick since it won't take very long. I'll go ahead and add that in real quick, and then we'll go over all the decent people that should be considered. I'll go ahead and throw in the Gon and switch over Gluttony for Aatrox. And we'll go in here. I don't have the best gear on Aatrox yet. I still need to move that around. Actually, I should have... Let's get rid of Abomination as well. I might put Volca in for more sustain instead of Abomination. Oh, actually, Abomination. Let's try Abomination in the center behind the wall with his ultimate. He'll have the time to wind up his ultimate during the first phase and should be able to clear behind Gon. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's put Aatrox on this side, Cerberus on this side. Let's put A-Bomb behind Gon, Valkyrie behind Aatrox to revive him. And we'll go ahead and go through this. Aatrox just automatically ults, where it's an automatic ult in comparison to Cerberus, which is manual, and Aatrox does physical damage and Cerberus does magical damage. Just good to know if you look at the enemy's defenses. But they're dying about the same rate together. So we're ready for the main mode. Let's go ahead and get ult out. And we'll see Aatrox die and get revived here. Zoom in a bit. The Cerberus already went down. And then Aatrox should be going down shortly. He's sustaining very well with his visor. And Valkyrie's a little bit better geared off of protecting that side lane. So he'll go down here shortly. He's holding on very well. And he gets brought back. And so he'll sustain very well with that. And then Cerberus is about to come back. But we just lost Aatrox there, but we'll throw down Cerberus. And Aatrox is already back. He's got reduced death time. So we'll throw him back in. But our wall is taking a beating. And Revive isn't back up for Valkyria because it has a long cooldown. But we're actually doing very well. We actually beat... We almost got to SS there. So a little bit more fine tuning, and I should easily be able to do that. This will be a new high score, and that was just uh, demonstrating Aatrox's revival. But if you look at the damage, Cerberus is up there. I said Aatrox is not even in good gear, but he's doing better than some of the other things. And I could even try Volca instead of Abomination, since he didn't do much of anything in the back there. But it's proof of concept in there that even Aatrox is doing quite well. But looking at the gallery, like I said, we're looking for AoE fighters. I tried Zilla2, but she's too single targety. She does do a lot of damage, but we're looking purely for AoE. Salazar, not very good because he's mainly a single target. Zilla2's got some AoE at range, at a chance to do AoE, so he does decent enough. Abomination, once he ults twice, he almost exclusively does AoE damage. Valeria, um, Valeria only does single target, so she's not that great. Uh, Giselle, she does have some AoE with her ult. She does like a death spiral around her. That could be very interesting. She could be used behind the gate and do some decent damage with that because she doesn't have she only has a block of 1, similar to base Cerberus and Aatrox, but she could be behind the wall and using her ult if you have a decent cooldown on that. Fallon, if you have him, would be very good on this because he can be behind the wall and do AoE not only with his basic attack, but also his ult can then go in front of the wall and do damage in front of the wall. That one would be amazing in this, and I mentioned that in his spotlight that I made. Wrath was doing okay, but I have him more of a tanky build. But if I switched him to be offensive more, he would do pretty decent. But I have Torador now, so I was trying Torador as the um, booster of the Nightmare team, and then Wrath just as a DPS. So I was kind of using him improperly. Ardia is by far one of the most amazing at this codex. It seems like she's literally built for it because she can be behind the wall and do massive amounts of AoE safely behind the wall and just mow people down, bleed people, which helps your other people do more damage as well. Um, Gluttony did surprisingly good because he somewhat does AoE and he's able to sustain with his ult. He did pretty considerable damage and he just scales with HP, so he's not going to be eating up some of the gear that your other DPS might be using. But as far as epics, that's kind of it other than Aatrox. I've seen some Vladovs doing decent even though they are single target, but he attacks very fast. But not too many epics that I would suggest using. He's only a single target, but he does augment people around him with his ultimate, so there might be some use. Falchia is single target, and even her ult, if she ults, it won't switch targets if the target dies, so I wouldn't suggest her for this. She's probably more for the third codex that we will have when we get to that. Defenders, Torador does some AoE and does very decent damage. I've seen obviously Gon's very good. Top tier teams Reeves scales as the fight goes on and does very good AoE damage. Cyrus would probably be very good. He could be safely behind the wall and summon things to keep things off the wall. Um, Constance as being able to heal people and give the Dolores inspiration buff. The inspiration buff like Dolores. As Horror, I've even seen do very well as an offensive option. Um, and yeah, Ardeth might actually be decent because he does percentage damage off of his HP, so he could be another HP person, and also reduces their vulnerability to magic damage, which help Cerberus and Valkyria, even though Valkyria also does vulnerability, or does she do defense reduction? Let's see here, the specific debuff she puts on. Yeah, still vulnerability. So those are some the main options. Volca being used to sustain all your people in the front. Once you get a little bit past where I was, things will start to fail. So having a healer being able to sustain yourself with Volca or the Constance or even the Mariel is the only other options that you have for sustain with her heals and uh, but she and her healing scales off defense, so will be an easier thing to build if you are requiring to use her. So that's kind of the main people that are, proven their worth with the first codex. All of which you can see in here, all the people that I mentioned. Let's see if there's any people that stand out. Well, there's someone managed to do well with the Zilla 2 to get triple S, but I guarantee you it was the other people that were pulling the weight. This guy did use Cyrus. This guy used Lugaru, which is kind of single targety, but yeah, just being chaos in itself. Any other outliers? Someone used Kaniza successfully in the triple S. That's interesting. People are using Morrigan, even though you can't place her, just to be able to boost Aatrox, Captain Reeve, and Cerberus? Yeah. Yeah, they're both cultists. They're both cultists and chaos. There's a guy using Talon, so it's good. But yeah, using Morgan in this sense, even though you're constantly going to be proccing the slow off Captain Reeves to boost their damage, you're down a person still. But they still did very well in placements. And you can see Morgan again, even using Vladov just as the lead to boost Ardia and Cerberus there. But other than that, it's just you're seeing the same people over and over again. So no real crazy outliers other than the people that I mentioned. So I just wanted to get that out there. I will do separate videos for the other two remaining versions as they go live, but this will give you an idea of who to work on. This is going to have us focus on people that we weren't normally building for all our other content, and basically gives units purpose that we might not have thought of before, and people that we haven't gotten yet, although the last couple banners have been very focused on the people that are doing very well for these codexes. So it's good that they gave us the units first before these hit, but there still could be some amazing ones that haven't been tested that we have not received yet. But that's it for that. Best of luck on your Immortal Codexes. Thank you for watching this Watcher of Realms video. If you like what you see, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I am Lieutenant Sheik, and this target has been destroyed.